Here, which is our duty, to ensure that they remain persistent to the cause, so ultimately they cast their vote. We've also we have two streams here. One is fully kitted. The other one kit has broken down, and therefore we have only one that's functional, and that also has compromised the speed upon which this can be executed. But the turnout is abnormally high here. Ordinarily, in the last election when we came here, there was no line to talk about. You will come, meet 3-4 people ahead of you, and the turnout will be compromised to probably 40%, 50% to that extent. Now we see probably we could have more than 60% voter turnout here. Probably the excitement is because there's a candidate, myself, who comes from here for the gubernatorial position. I went to school here at Bale Primary School. Then, of course, eventually proceeded to other places. So this is basically home, and I think it's because of the excitement that lots of the people have come out to express themselves in whichever manner that they purpose to. So, for purposes of the holistic overview of this exercise, the only complaint is that it's slow, and then one of the kids has broken down, and now they're complaining that they've come at 5, they're hungry, they haven't gone to fetch water, they haven't gone to fetch firewood, they haven't cooked for the families, they don't have food, they have to fend for themselves because there's a lot of hunger here, and so on and so forth. So that's really, and if they reach at a point where they've been stretched, the elasticity has been stretched to the point that they can't take it anymore, certainly they'll walk home. The other issue is civic education. It's worked a bit, but people here look at voting as a vote for the candidate, not a vote for my life, for the 5 years, my prosperity, the school, the water and stuff. They don't look at it that way. So they look like they're giving the vote to someone else. That's why while I'm vying in here, the turnout is big, because they're looking at it like it's one is getting involved here, as opposed to a daily turnout affair this high on account of a normal civic duty and attitude. So, well, the excitement is here. The entire Sokoke ward, I know the turnout, we've walked around quite. The turnout is also very high, record high. It's never turned out like this before. So we hope that there'll be more expression towards a voice that is collectively determined to a certain candidature or outcome. So we are very grateful that this is happening. There's a lot of peace here, nothing untoward towards a breach of the same or any excitement that will threaten the same. So we assure that we shall close here when everybody has voted. We shall close when we've had our peace to vote and exercise our democratic right. I have seen I've seen the agents inside, the several agents for different parties here and political parties too. I think there's synergy in terms of how they can assist collectively and express the voice of those that would want to be assisted voters. Otherwise, if you're able to discern yourself through the process and put your mark, then it's extremely fast. I believe less than 2 minutes you'll be done and you walk out. If then you can go through the process by yourself. So yes, it's a good experience for me, especially when I'm at home and being a candidate. And the rest also I've seen they've come and they've just voted for a few minutes and gone. The complaints will continue to be there. We've urged them to expedite a bit so that the exercise can determine early enough. I believe by 4:30 we should have been done. It's not a very big polling station anyway. Probably 630,000 thereabout. So those are not very many people. And we know half have already voted because they've come from 5 a.m. With the mobilization here, sensitization and civic education was extremely high on account of the excitement that was there. Fast forward to today. Yeah, thank you.
In Kilifi, how have your supporters given you feedback? How has the process been? Is there any complaints so far? I know some areas the King's kids were failing, but what have they told you and how is the process faring on?
I think the only issue here is the preceding issues will be that there are people who register to vote at this polling station and around. Of course, there are several villages that attract polling station. Stream towards the north and the south. It's a vast area that is completely undeveloped. Now, there are people who wanted to change their votes or voting stations from Nairobi, Eldoret, Mombasa, and also from parts of Kilifi to here or its environs. But they realized last minute that when they checked, they had been demobilized to places that they voted last time. Yet at the time that they were doing proofreading, they had been moved. So we're not sure what happened at that time. But it's a negligible number because I don't think it's going to screw the outcome as such. Probably less than 2% the total voter count here. So I think that that's a complaint that may not be available to be able to make a determination on the outcome. But secondly, there is a lot of illiteracy here. People cannot discern text and print, and therefore there's a lot of interactive communication and discussion. Who do you want? And that compromises the very essence of a vote process and the vote itself being a secret to answer. Because if there are 7, 8 people listening to you, for instance, the agents, the party agents and candidates agents, and plus the personnel, IEBC personnel, I think that compromises the entire element of secrecy eventually. But it is what it is. We have to deal with it the way it is. So far, so good. We hope that there'll be an outcome at the end of the day as early as possible, so then we can move towards building our Kilifi and try and reduce those stories that you keep on hearing out there about what Kilifi really is, or Ganze for that, because this is Ganze sub-county, and Vitengeni Sokoke ward for that matter.
Have you communicated with any of your agents, and if you have, what information have you gotten from them concerning the election process?
Talking about this session is what I've said, that it's slow. The other places we've had a bit of challenges in the morning. Accreditation was questioned here and there, and therefore the voting started when some of our agents were not in place on site. They're still being cleared by IEBC. 3 stations we had a problem. The governor's box where you can put the ballot was not available, so it came much later. And then there was a push and pull because they had wanted to start the voting process without the governor's boxes, and that obviously didn't go down well with us. But we refused until the boxes were brought, and eventually they were brought. We checked them. There was no compromise as to the content because there was nothing, and we proceeded. We hope there'll be no breach, because that's where our issue is, breach. The other issue was a polling station in Mariakani that I've identified where a car, a Harrier, black, came and brazenly and with almost audacity of impunity, came and parked between the two rows and started giving money, 50 shillings against the people who are there. Give 50 shillings in the row, the other row 50 shillings. We think that was a little bit of a compromise that was completely uncalled for. We've captured the vehicle, we've reported the same, and we think eventually it will be pursued. If it's not pursued, I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'll certainly pursue it myself. Notwithstanding the result, I will personally pursue it. I think we should live in a state of respect for each other. Impunity should not have a place for anyone. We are here in a competition, but we are the same people. The problems are the same, and therefore we can't allow that. There also have been bribery, high octanes of bribery from 11 p.m. yesterday, fast forward to 1 to 2 a.m. That's when they stopped. Parts of there wasn't a lot of bribery here, but I know parts of Bamba, which is the same sub-county, Kaloleni, there was vast open bribery. I think the rate was 1,500 shillings. As we speak, Mnarani, there's a governor candidate seated at a hotel in Mnarani and is giving 1,000 to those who vote. They pass by there to pick 1,000 personally from him. That we've noted with the evidence. We will pursue it when the time comes. Malindi, there has been heavy bribery incidences, especially because it attracts lots of competition there. We've noted that, we've taken note also. And also parts of Mariakani. In the night, there was so much bribery. There's a station there called Dairy, polling station, a very big one. Well, the bribery was there. I can't talk of compromise into the intent to vote or the actual voting, but yes. So we've captured lots of bribery. Obviously, because here, if you want to capture the people, you give maize flour, because it's not available at all. It's also expensive, and to the sort of poverty. So much poverty that even 100 shilling is such a big deal for someone. People here don't earn 100 a day. They don't even earn that 100 a day. They could earn that 100 shillings probably in a week. So it's this extreme poverty. So when you entice them with money, they'll listen to you. As to whether that compromises a question of an hour a day. But yes, the incidents we've had here is an advantage being taken on the population on account of the poverty and illiteracy too. And of course, a very gullible society in that description. Yeah.
Finally, your message for peace as the voters come to the polling center.
Well, notwithstanding all that, I mean, it's quite some sort of provocation. Our supporters have wanted to react, but I told them, for what? You can't react against your brother. It's something that can be dealt with through the law. And we think that we should continue maintaining the peace and tolerance. Even acts of extreme provocation like those ones must be tolerated, because it's our civic duty to do so. So I call upon Kenyans, and especially people of Kilifi, to keep the restraint. Anyway, any discordant behavior is punishable in law, and alternatively, sometimes it disqualifies the outcome of candidates. That's really a compromise we want to attract here. The other issue that probably I want to point out is our ballot papers were found in Kakamega and in Mombasa. Those ballot papers have not been accounted for today. What we know, and we've had and have been following through, is that there was supposed to be a mock print of ballot papers in Mombasa gubernatorial race, and then that which is over and above the need there was supposed to be printed for Kilifi, and then Kilifi is compromised to that extent. Unfortunately, they failed to remove the title for Mombasa, for Kilifi, and replaced it and put Mombasa there. That's the only thing that has compromised the intention to compromise the process here, because If those gubernatorial ballot papers did not have Mombasa up there, they would have found themselves very easily in Kilifi. In any event, our society here doesn't read that it's written Kilifi up there. Because that's the only difference, really, Mombasa and Kilifi. Our society here doesn't read, I mean, I've told you it's an interest society largely. So they don't read Kilifi or Mombasa. So even if those ballot papers are deployed here, how then do you audit that, at least at the instant? And remember, we rely on what will be sometimes not very keen agents of all spheres, parties. So I think that being very close to us and having mentioned Kilifi in Kakamega and Mombasa, it raises a compromise that has not been explained away by IEBC. I blame IEBC entirely for this compromise and this breach, because for us, having mentioned a further print of a ballot box touching on me and my face, I'll question it. Whether, notwithstanding the outcome, I'll question it. I want to understand why my face was printed elsewhere for purposes of an audit elsewhere without an explanation as to me. You can't say it is a mistake. You must be able to explain it away and what the intention was, and take an audit of where it happened, how it happened, and eventually the process of destruction. You will never know that process of destruction. You will never witness it. And if it finds its way here, then, which is what our fear is, because that's what we've had, they say, those that are involved, it becomes a problem for us. However, like I said, at the end of the day, we must remain with our Kilifi, we must remain with our Kenya. So nothing should compromise peace and the life that we live here. Yeah.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Back to you.